Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 9 to 5 Fitness Podcast. I'm not even sure which episode it is, but I'm joined with my best mate, the big man, Anabolic Gabe. Gab, how are you? How'd you sleep?
Mate, I'm absolutely flying today. I'm actually flying a bit too high. I have to be careful. I'm just really motivated, really inspired, full of energy, and I want to conquer the world right now. But when you're full of energy like that, you got to be careful because you might be a bit too hyped up and go and crash your car or something. So just got to reel it back in a bit. But mate, slept pretty decently as well. What about yourself?
I'm very well. I slept very well. Just on that, the energy thing, I get a bit like that as well sometimes. I get a bit excited in social situations and I have to remind myself to just settle down and relax, especially when I'm with like my friends. Yeah. Like when we went out on Saturday night, I have to just remind myself not to get too excited.
Yeah, you're not too hyped up, but I think I'm probably more of a danger of that, but yeah.
We get through, but I slept really well, and I'm feeling very good today. We do have a big podcast today.
It's quite a serious topic.
It's not necessarily something we wanted to do.
No, not at all, to be honest. I really didn't want to have to make this podcast, to be honest, but I suppose in our position, and I'm trying to make this in the most respectful, just impartial way possible, but it is our podcast at the end of the day. A lot of people do listen to it, and I believe we should have the freedom to be able to talk about these broader issues and specific issues that occur to us. And I know it's been kind of the elephant in the room for a little while now, and people were kind of demanding an explanation, and I believe they do deserve an explanation, but I just wanted them to be patient and for us to collect the facts, collect some evidence, and really put our story together, or the facts together, not even the story. And do it in kind of the most, as I said, the best and most appropriate way possible. And that is kind of the Brockfit issue and our honest thoughts on him.
We have complete respect for Brock, and we're not trying to, tear anyone down.
The point of this podcast isn't to tear Brock down, right? The point of this podcast is to use it as almost a teaching moment because, let's face it, I made a mistake. Let's be honest. I put myself in this position. And I think it is a good teaching moment just from like a financial literacy perspective and also just a risk perspective. And like, to be honest, like there were some things that I was also unhappy about, which I want to kind of speak about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a long process, I suppose, over the last couple of months, where it's just like carried on and
on way too long.
Lies have been told and like things. People aren't being honest, and it kind of just got to the point where it's like, enough is enough, and I'm like, we'll touch on it later, but there's other people have come forward with different allegations, so it all kind of makes sense. And I suppose the point of this podcast is to just kind of educate different people.
And before we get into the crux of it, I just want to reaffirm we really didn't want to make this podcast. We're a brand, and we like to kind of spread positive energy and bring people up. And we're really not believers in the spreading negative energy and spreading negative news. But let's face it, the human psychology is that people are much more interested in a negative story than a positive one. And like, this is not the reason we're doing it. We really didn't want to have to make it. But again, we've chatted enough and given enough disclaimers about it. Like, I think we probably should just get into it.
Why don't we start from the very beginning? How it all started for you? Like, it wasn't necessarily directed at me in any way, but you got a text message.
Yeah. So, well, let's even start. Like, I was at one point extremely close with Brock. I remember we were both going through issues at the time. I think I was either going through a breakup or just like tough times, and he was having some issues as well, and we just chat about it either on the phone or on Snapchat or something, or Instagram, just like in detail. We went pretty deep, so this is why this has hit me really hard, and I've been quite upset over it. So he was someone I'd never met before, but I regarded as like a genuinely close friend. Like, he would be promoting some of my stuff, we'd give each other shout outs, tag each other in stories. There was, I suppose, from my background in commerce, I wanted to make sure he wasn't getting exploited by brands and undercharging or not asking for money at all. So I almost like built him a little or like sent him our pricing sheet and said, mate, this is how much we're charging for brands. Like, have a look at this. Here's some things you could do for your own business or like platform to make money. So I really, we got really close through that, because let's face it, he's really good at like getting the big numbers in and like that. But I thought I could help him kind of monetize his audience a little bit and make $1 out of it. So basically, like, I was pretty damn close to the guy, trusted him a lot, like would consider him a close friend at that point. Where do we kind of go from there? We have a pretty established merchandise line or apparel line. You know, we've got good suppliers. We can just order whenever we want. We know what we're doing. It's pretty streamlined. And so we said, like Brock and I were chatting about, like, we should make some merch for you because you got like this many fans. Why don't we create some t-shirts? You know, you can sell them $40, $50 each. The cost to make them $20-$25. That's like, you know, making $20 a t-shirt kind of thing. You get 50 of those. 20 times 50 is what? That's like $1,000 profit kind of thing. And so, there was like a little project we thought we'd get into. And so we got the graphic designer to make it like with the cute little "is that good" thing. You know, I'd wear it around, put it on my socials. We loved it. Kids were buying it. And we got a certain amount, and, you know, a few of them sold, but they probably didn't sell out as quick as we would have hoped, or even as quick as our apparel sells. So I suppose on that front, it was a little bit like disappointing just from like a business performance sense. And
it's a risk you take though. Like, we understood that.
It's a risk you take. But what we did say was we would pay for the stock up front, pay the supplier, and once we sell out, we would pay Brock. What was it? We would pay Brock the proceeds. Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Like, we negotiated we agreed upon a certain rate. So we would pay the upfront fee. And once we sell enough and that upfront fee gets paid for, we keep that. And then like the profit from that goes to Brock.
It was pretty bloody safe for him.
It was pretty
safe.
He
essentially just needed to promote the product.
Exactly right. It was like the cost plus a processing fee, and Brock keeps the rest.
Exactly.
And like, let's face it, they still haven't sold out kind of thing. And so there are a few more issues which we'll get into, but...
So that's the second bit of it. So, I mean, you were very close with him. I'd say he's one of your very good friends. And then obviously we went into business with him, which is fine. Like, we weren't too concerned about losing that kind of, like, it's just something. It's like, okay, we just need to keep promoting it, which we know we can sell things. I'm sure, like, if Brock kept promoting them and stuff, we could have kept selling as well. And then I suppose fast forward a couple of months, then you get a text.
Wait, there's one more detail just in the merch line. So he texted me saying like he needs cash pretty badly. Is it possible for us to pay him like the proceeds earlier? And so I was like, yeah, no stress. Like, I'll pay you now. Like, we kind of sold a certain amount, not enough. Like we said, once you sell this amount, like, we'll pay you the proceeds, but we paid him off earlier from that just because he said he needed cash, and he promised I'll promote them all.
Yeah.
And like, he didn't, but it's not the point. Like we essentially paid him out early, the proceeds, right?
Yep.
Fast forward a few months from there, I think it was kind of the start of this year. I suppose the communication with me and Brock, that like, there wasn't anything bad at this point, but it had probably died off a little bit. And he sends me this message where he Snapchats me, and he goes like, "Oh, like, can I ask a favor for you, man?" I thought it was just like, "Oh, can you like duet something or comment on something or share this on your story?" And I probably would have been happy to do it. But he actually sends me an Instagram message, a pretty damn long one at that. And by the way, just a little interjection here. Everything we're talking about in detail here is like, we have the screenshots to provide.
Yeah, it's factual. We can back it up.
Won't post the screenshots just out of respect. And it's probably like, we don't need to go into that level of detail. But the other stuff that has been alleged, we will not be going into detail. We're only talking about the stuff that has happened to us, and that's the facts and things we can definitely prove with the screenshots.
Yeah.
So he sends me this very long message, very long, heartfelt, kind of a sad story. And he goes, like, I'm so stressed out at the moment. I've got all these money issues. I've got like rent to pay. I got bills to pay, and I like don't have any money, basically. And he's like, I know this is like a really uncomfortable thing to ask or something along those lines. But like, would you be able to lend me some money? And I said, like, to be honest, I've been asked by people for money before, and for me, it's like the most uncomfortable thing ever.
It's nothing worse.
I remember a little sidetrack here, so I'm probably going into too much detail, but I met this guy in Sri Lanka, and he was an absolute legend. I loved him, and then like a few years later, he messaged me about how something in his family went wrong and he needs money, and I don't know, man. Like it's so awkward for me, and I feel so bad because I don't want to. I don't know if it's dogged by me, but like. I just feel so uncomfortable because it's not like a family member or someone asking me for money. It's like someone I've met this bloke for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know if it's like
dogged by me. I totally agree. Well, I mean, firstly, I would never give anyone money who I haven't met personally, but we'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, it's an uncomfortable thing to go through, and it's almost harder to say no than it is yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know, for me, it just felt so uncomfortable, but I did feel really bad for him because I understand that, like, I did come from a good education and I was pretty money smart early on, made good investments early on, was good at saving, and I had built up quite a bit of wealth, and the amount he was asking for was, let's say, insignificant, but maybe it could have helped him out a lot. And I remember consulting all the people close to me. So I consulted you, I consulted my family, I consulted my ex-girlfriend, who was my ex-girlfriend at the time, but I was still very close to her, and we'd often communicate just on important topics. And all of them said, like, no way, never like loan anyone money, especially if you haven't met them. Like there wasn't a single person who said, like, loan the money, essentially. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, exactly. I think I spoke to my parents about it as well, and they said definitely don't do it, and tell Gab not to.
Yeah. A few days had passed, and I'd done some thinking. I was like, you know what, stuff it. This is my money. No one makes my decisions. He's a good mate of mine. I want to help him out. It might really like relieve him and de-stress him. And so I transferred him the money like damn quickly, OSCO payment. And he was extremely grateful, extremely thankful. He said, let me know if you want me to do it or like any favors through social media. I said, no stress. And the specific terms were, I would transfer you in 7 days, 1 week.
And this is where it begins.
So it ends up being 2-3 weeks pass. And I'm like, because I thought, you know, it's only this amount of money. Like, I'll give him another week. Like, it's no stress, right? Like, to be honest, if I ever got into a position like that and I had to ask you or another friend for money, I would be transferring 2 days earlier just because I'd want it to stay between you and I wouldn't want any more dramas from that. Like, weeks upon weeks had passed, messages upon he'd like ghosted my messages, like would take ages to respond, and then he'd be like...
Yeah, he'd like avoid the message but also upload on social media, and you and I'd be conversing like, mate, what is he doing?
It got to the point where like we were pretty close with Prime Train as well, and we were telling Prime, and we're like, mate, what's going on here? Just because like I was feeling like I was getting stuffed around, and and I really want to stress, like, it's not about the money, it's about the principle. And I just felt like, mate, I was getting angry.
Yeah. So he kept avoiding you, kept ghosting you. Yeah. You'd send him a message. What were the kind of responses he'd give?
So like there'd be breaks, and I'd be like, mate, there'd be like 7 messages in a row from me being like question mark, like, are you there? And I could see he's like uploading on social media. I'd Snapchat him, I'd Instagram him, I'd text message him. And I'm like, yeah, I just felt completely stuffed around. And like it got to the point where he was like, hey man, I'll transfer you right now. And I'm like, can you send me a screenshot? And he wouldn't reply. And then a few days later, he'd be like, oh, I'm with Bendigo Bank. Like it takes ages or something. And it's like, mate, everyone's got OSCO payment now. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, do you think I was born yesterday? Like, I've literally got a degree in finance and economics. Like,
it was almost comical in that, like, it's exactly what you would be scared of happening if you were to transfer someone some money.
And when that happened, I was like, regretted it so much. I'm like, man, I never should have transferred him. Like, honestly, like, yeah, I just felt really disrespected, really unhappy. And I remember telling you guys and just chatting to you because like I need to chat to my mates about something that's really annoying me.
We're in it together.
And my parents were like, just accept it. Like, you've lost some money. Like, it's just this amount. Don't let it stress you. But it was the principal, man, that was annoying me. I'm trying to think if there's anything more to add to that. So it ended up being a few months passing, and he's like, hey, can I transfer you in installments? And I'm like, oh, fuck, me, dude. Bottom line is he did end up transferring me back, but it was installments and it took so long. And from there, the relationship was just soured. Like, I could never trust this guy again.
Yeah, so he was like very apologetic and like kind of wanting to remain friends and stuff and all of that sort of thing.
And he kind of, I don't mean to like say anything too bad here, but like stuck up to me. Like, he'd comment on things and send me messages and try to change the topic. And it's like, bro, I really don't care. Like, you literally abused my trust.
Yep. So if he was honest right from the start, do you think you would have felt
if he
different?
said, hey mate, I'll transfer you in a month on this date, probably, to be honest, I don't know. I can't say now because I'm completely put off giving anyone money.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good lesson. So then after all of that, you eventually got the money.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a celebration and then, once you got it.
Yeah, literally. And then I'm like, mate, we still got all these Brockfit tees left. Like, surely since I paid, like, I loaned him, helped him out and accepted and tolerated and didn't like put on social media stuff this guy, he's taken, like, I was pretty respectful and tolerant of it. And I was like, oh, can you like promote the tees? Like, we just like want them gone. We got this amount. We did transfer you early. Very kind of diplomatically said, I would say, in my opinion. We have the screenshots to prove it. And again, he would just like avoid, and I'd be like, can you make a post? We can do a giveaway. Can you make a TikTok and a few stories? And he would just like completely avoid what I said. He's like, haha, yeah, man, like got you boys or something like that. And it's like, I'm like, no, like, do you have a date when we can do this by? And do you have any ideas for the post? And it got to the point where he just ignored our messages. And I remember one morning, I walk out of my psychologist appointment. I like to see a psych just once a month just to check in, even when things are really good. I check my phone. It was on aeroplane mode or do not disturb. I see the messages, and Louis messaged me, Brock's unfollowed all of our accounts. From there, I was like pretty damn annoyed.
Yeah, you were fiery.
Like, wasn't like throwing my phone or anything. I was just like, I put on my story straight away, like, fuck Brockfit.
Yeah.
Didn't say specifically what he did. I just said,
yeah, it'll all come out.
Yeah, I said, no, this is like going public now. Like, this is ridiculous.
So then, like, I suppose the unfollow, like, we don't actually care about him following us.
But to me, that signals he wants nothing more to do with us.
And it's so disrespectful.
He's not going to be, keeping his end of the bargain up. Like,
yeah, exactly right. And so we couldn't trust him. Then you kind of settled down on the stories and stuff, which I think was a good decision. We let it simmer for a couple of days, just talking out, okay, what are we going to do to make sure this is what happens? Did you converse with him much after
that? Basically, he sent me a bunch of messages because obviously someone would have sent him the story I posted and beat him almost like threatening me and going like, is this really the path you want to go down? Like, this sounds like blackmail. And I was just like, I'm not entertaining that. This isn't blackmail. Like, you know very well what you've done. And I've got a platform and I'm allowed to speak about my dealings with him. Like, if you talk about the facts and you don't speculate and say things that are fake, then obviously that's defamation. If you say literally just what you can prove and the facts of the matter that has happened, I'm allowed to speak like what has happened and outline the facts. And so there's nothing stopping us from doing that. And him saying like, this is blackmail. Are you sure you want to go down this path? And
weird comments.
I consulted with multiple legal resources just to make sure. And they said, yeah, like, this is fine. Just you only talk about the facts and things you can prove, which is what we're doing here. Since I uploaded those stories, a number of parties have come back to me. And so I can't say specifically what has been done or who, but let's just say it sounds like a repeat occurrence.
So you got some screenshots from someone who had pretty much allegedly gone through the same thing. And it was pretty much a copy and pasted message. Yep. Wasn't it? That was sent to you originally.
Exactly right. It was the same kind of sob story.
Yep. Which kind of comes as to why we're making this podcast, which is more like flagging trouble and not wanting anyone to have to go through kind of what you've had to go through.
It's damn stressful and I really don't need this on my plate at the moment. Like, I've got enough things we're dealing with and I think we can kind of use it as a teaching moment and just, if anyone and there's probably more people out there like that do things. And I just wanted to, like, I'm never going to be loaning people money again just because Like, unless it's my brother and he needs an operation or something, and I'd just give him the money. Like, I don't know, man. Like, is there anything you can...
Yeah, well, I think we can kind of... Obviously, we're not going to go into those specific allegations, but the fact that there's been multiple different people coming forward, and we don't know if they're factual, so we can't necessarily comment on them.
Yeah. I have been... so one of the parties, apparently after my stories, he transferred back the party straight away. Or he transferred half.
So Brock transferred, yep.
Yeah, the other one of the... And there were several others. And they said, like, whatever you want me to... I will, like, send a video of myself speaking about it. But I thought, that's not necessary. It's probably getting
on the podcast.
And there are other... Let's just say there's a lot going on. There's other, like... I can't say, but it sounds pretty serious with, like, other people.
So the thing is with this kind of stuff and why it hurts so much, I think, for you, is because people like Brock who ask for money are so convincing. Like, they spin a real good yarn. And then they can really kind of get to you and you know, they promise this, promise that, and then they're so comfortable with being able to just keep pushing it out and keep lying.
I didn't realize like how uncomfortable this topic was going to make me, because it's not like I don't feel like I'm gonna cry, but I feel and I don't feel angry. It's like this feeling in between. I don't even know what it is. Like, I feel a little bit sick.
Yeah, it's like, it's so disappointing.
Yeah, it's like I genuinely feel sick. Yeah. I think like people are so convincing. Yeah, that convincing thing. It's like the response time and the passion behind the messages before I transferred money versus after. It's two completely different people.
It does create speculation in terms of what his general plan was, because if he's allegedly taking from or asking for money from all these different people.
And the thing is, I'm like 10 years younger than him as well.
Yeah.
So it does seem like pretty weird.
Yeah, it does. It does seem weird. It is a weird situation in general. But yeah, should we hit him with a quick product plug?
Yeah, I don't want to make this too corny or cheesy, but obviously we feel we've made quite a trustworthy brand and we provide value in our products, and we really appreciate like the loyalty in our audience and fans and customers, and we really hope that like our values are quite clear in the content we provide and the products we provide and everything like that. And you know, like what you see is what you get with us. Like, we're not hiding anything from you, and that's the same with our products. So I don't want to be too like, go buy my power building program right now, 50% off, blah, 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 blah. Go. It's just like, you know, nutty, high performing individuals with a high degree of trust. If you want to get behind a brand like that, then you can buy our products. We have apparel. Louis has his own way of training, my own way of training. We have programs to support that. So if you do want to get behind a brand like that, and so many of you, we've seen there's customers on the database that have spent over $1,000 just on our website, which is nuts.
Yeah, it's an incredible level of trust, which we really appreciate.
And I hope, like, let us know, guys, if that comes across and if that's clear, because when we started, that was the whole point of 9 to 5. And I think, we don't want to demonize anyone, but like, this is what we preach.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we need to like genuinely need to keep a roof over our head.
Exactly right.
And there's no doubt this podcast is going to get a few views. So if you want to pick anything up from the store, you can use code podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, that'll get you 10% off. I've got my power building program, which is a mix of powerlifting and hypertrophy to be strong and both jacked. Louis has his athletic program too.
It'll help improve any kind of high intensity sport. So it's got running, it's got weightlifting, and a suggested structure. We've
also, if you're watching, we got this nice apparel brand. So hopefully this singlets will be out very soon. It's like the seafoam green with the white piping. I get comments on it at the gym now. Like, are those new? Yeah, they are new, and they're unreal.
And they're just about ready to go.
Exactly right. You're wearing the casual tee.
I am, just under my puffer vest because I'm very cool. And I love the casual tee. It's actually one of my favorite items, I'd say.
Yeah. I just wanted to give not really a plug, but just like, because of the brand and the exciting nature of our business, and it's very new age, we get countless people wanting to work with us. And to me, having a really good team behind what we do makes everything so much easier. So I've got my duties, you've got your duties. We've got several other employees who just like a good team makes things so much easier. And when we run into issues like this, it's like we're all together. It's like a unit like this, and I don't know, just I can't praise the team enough because they're all so passionate. They're all bought in, and that we really want to continue that. Yeah, just before we get into a bit of other stuff, we wanted to reinforce that. I believe from the bottom of my heart, Brock isn't a bad person. He's just probably got himself into some tough situations and had to do things that he's not proud of. And I really do hope that Brock responds and kind of redeems himself. And I hope this podcast isn't too harsh on him. I think we're trying to be as respectful as possible, but at the same time, we need to speak about this.
Yeah, no, definitely, totally agree with all of that. He's also got a huge brand in terms of like his personal brand, and I really think he's got so much potential to be able to make good money out of it.
100%. He's got more followers than us.
Yeah, and he's killing it with content. So yeah, there's definitely no hard feelings from us.
And we were going to say this at the end, but I think we should also say it now. Is like, the point of this podcast, please don't go and send Brockfit abusive messages and comment on his videos, horrible stuff. Just let's all raise above that, guys. Let's take this issue for what it is, and like, we don't need that negative tearing down.
This isn't a personal attack at Brock. This is more just a lesson for people listening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. And I wanted to kind of get into a bit of a personal story because I know how hard like money issues can be. Like So I went to a private school, and lots of people just assume like, oh, your dad's rich or something. And let me tell you, like, growing up was really stressful for my family. Like, my family immigrated from Russia with not much money at all. I think my grandma had $80 in her pocket, worked in like literally like this ironing factory it was kind of stuffed up, right? So they came from very humble beginnings, and my family always believed very highly in education. So instead of going on the family holiday or buying the new car, they sent me to like the best school possible at the start of high school. And I cannot thank them more. Like, I cannot thank them enough for that, because I truly believe that got the best out of me in terms of like my education, and taught me, like, allowed me to understand finance and obviously go to university and things like that. But growing up, I remember like my mum stressing me the fuck out about money. She was terrible. It's the worst thing you can do to the kids. Like, she would literally tell me how broke we are and how we got to sell the house and how XYZ has happened. And mate, I would go to school and I couldn't concentrate and I felt so bad. I remember literally, so I was going to a private school at the time, and my mum the morning of would like tell me we got to sell the house. And I converted my private school fees into a daily figure. So I think there were 182 school days in the year, and private school was 25 grand, which meant I think it was like $170 or something like that a day. And I was like, fuck, did I get $170 worth of value from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m? And I would feel so damn bad about it. So, like, money stress is one of the worst stresses.
I think like a good point of this is people initially go, well, like, we'll just give him the money to Brock, because like if you've got enough money and like you wouldn't, but it's like, no, like we weren't just handed everything.
No.
We didn't just walk into 9 to 5 fitness with it all set up. We didn't just like work, all our holidays, not work our holidays and just hang out with the boys. There's a huge level of financial literacy that we are very lucky and fortunate to understand and be able to put that into effect.
And I think coming from those, and let's face it, we didn't come from like the gutter or anything. We're still so damn lucky to even like have the thought of going to a private school. Like, my parents were on payment plans to get me there, but let's face it, what the position I was in was so much more privileged. Like, and I acknowledge that, and I'm so grateful for it. You'd be the same.
Much the same, yeah.
But what we're saying is, like, and I don't know, maybe what we're saying is completely missing the mark, but like, money stress is some of the worst stress you can have.
Yeah, definitely. But like, educating yourself on things can be done. Like, you can learn about financial literacy to make sure you're not having to message people.
And I think us coming from that really allowed us to understand what $1's worth. And so like, we worked at KFC when we were 14 years old. I think it was the legal age we started working, but we worked from day dot when we were the legal age. Even before that, I was working as a maths tutor and getting cashies from private school parents, working for $25 an hour, tutoring their daughters in like fractions and stuff. So I learned that hustle early on. I'd go and ride my bike and give them the best bloody tutoring session they'd ever had.
Yeah.
And I think from an early age that instilled in me like like, I don't want to go and blow this money on a new pair of shoes. I want to save this right here. And I remember my parents didn't let me use any of that money that I made from KFC working like for $8 an hour.
Yeah.
Mate.
Actually, that's ridiculous.
Fuck, mate.
And the whole store was put on this 14-year-old out the back. Mate, the stress.
I had acne develop from the bloody oil. The fryers there. I think we both did. And when I was like 18, I was like, hey, Mum and Dad, like, what happened to that bank account where I worked like a slave?
Wait a second.
And like, oh, let me find out. A week later, there's like $2,000 in it. Not getting interest or anything, just stagnating.
Could have invested it.
Thanks, Mum and Dad, you fucking idiot.
Oh, I remember having friends at school whose like parents had, you know, like they were so fortunate. Their parents had like invested like $5,000 when they were born in like some just blue chip stocks. You know, that was in 1998.
Yeah.
And now that they've got, you know, $150,000, $200,000 portfolio just sitting behind them. Man, I cannot wait to do that to my kids. Just imagine having like $200,000 just sitting behind you that you haven't even worked for it.
Mate,
unreal.
That's crazy. And it's also inspiring because I want to do that for my kids.
Oh, totally.
And what I'm saying is, like, I remember after I finished school, I got this job and, mate, I would work every single bloody day possible to make that money, almost sacrificing my university grades, which I don't recommend. But once I finished exams, I worked full time. And I remember saving all that money, spending what I had to on my car, paying like rent at home, paying for food, just the necessities. But I remember saving all that money, getting the full-time paychecks in and hitting 10K for the first time in the bank account. And that was like the most satisfying thing ever for me. I felt like Bill Gates.
Yeah, nothing better. It's so worth it. And if you can start working young, then we would highly recommend that.
Yeah, exactly. It just teaches you good discipline and money smarts. And if you can, as early as possible, push back mum and dad's handouts, I would recommend that.
Yeah, totally agree. Not to put pressure on anyone, but do what you can.
Yeah.
Speaking of money, do we want to keep a roof over our heads?
Yeah, we do. So obviously we have this a lot of people listen to the podcast. So we have sponsors who pay us money, and they're sponsors. We believe in their products quite a bit, and I'll let you get away with it because I've done a lot of talking. Yeah, no, we definitely do have sponsors. Starting off with Tomorrow Skincare, they are probably the best quality skincare I've ever used in my life. We're lucky enough to be sponsored by them. They have the 4-pack. They've got a gel moisturizer, an incredible foam cleanser, a serum rub, and then also, what's that last one called? The toner.
And a toner. So if you put all those on, honestly, it just sorts your skin out. It's sorted my skin out. You should go check them out at Tomorrow Skincare. Use code NTF. That will give you 20% off.
Cool. Next one, we got Manscaped.
Next up, we have Manscaped.
Have you used it lately?
I use the trimmer. Yeah, the 4.0. I have really hairy arms, and I like to put wrist wraps up when I play footy. Yeah. And my hair pinches, so I cut my hair.
It's just handy, isn't it?
It's the best. We can do
even
haircuts.
For speed lines, haircuts. I remember in lockdown, that's probably not the recommended use for it, and it goes against our contract with them. But hey,
probably.
If you can kind of double up with it. What other items do we like? I like this little spray. I might give myself a little spray here. Yeah,
moisturising spray, which is some really nice quality stuff. It feels good. It smells good. Mate, the Manscaped smell is just unreal. They've just
all the products are uniform. Yeah. So they all have that same scent. They differ a little bit, but it's all in line and it all smells really good.
It's some of the best stuff.
You know, I don't know if this is a little bit too personal, but the ball deodorant, like to give it a little bit of a rub down there.
It's quite peppery.
Treat yourself. Bit of kick to it.
On those nuts,
you got date night, you're going out.
Oh, nothing better than a date
deodorant.
Night. Bit of ball deodorant.
Just make sure it's nice and fresh down there.
Get a comment,
Often get compliments.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to be sweaty, like sweaty gooch hair and all that.
Lift up your nuts, fellas, and give a spray under there. It's pH leveling, so it's like good for it. You know, try and keep it off the shaft, but under your nuts is good. And if you want to pick any of that up, use code NTF to get 20% off and free shipping.
He's nailed it. The intern's getting good.
Here we go. Anything to finish with? I feel like we should just reiterate that point there.
Yeah. Basically, the point of this podcast wasn't fuck Brockfit. The point was, let's talk about an issue that we've been hiding for quite some time and needs air, and use it as a teaching moment. And hopefully this can be an inspiration to kind of get money smart and not deal with that stresses. Because I remember hearing from a book that money can't buy happiness. But if you don't have money, like the necessary amount, then you can be extremely unhappy. Like, so
Bang
just,
on.
I'd say put some money. Like, there's great resources out there. I'd recommend anyone who knows nothing about financial literacy to read or listen to Barefoot Investor. They explain it a whole lot better than we do.
Yep. It's a great book. Honestly, if you're young, ask for that for Christmas or your birthday. If you can't read, then listen to it. I listen to it like the audio book. It's
everything
so
you need
good
in there.
Yeah.
For anyone who thinks they can improve their financial literacy, Barefoot Investor, pretty much all you need just in one book. And that will really give you some inspiration to start getting set up early and not deal with those money stresses.
Yep. Fantastic. We wish him all the best.
We do wish Brock all the best with his content. Hopefully he can get himself out of this position, and we hope you can redeem yourself, Brock, and we don't hate you. We do deep down believe you're a good guy. We just we had to explain this situation essentially because it was eating me up.
Definitely. And just to reiterate your point earlier, please do not go and abuse Brock or get on any of his videos and start tagging us and everything. That is not the point of this video. Let's,
take a step above that and just acknowledge this issue for what it is. There's, like it's been said, everything that needs to be said has been said now. Let's just leave it at that, guys.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.